So you're at the bar, knocking back some cold ones with the boys, sweating some football bets on the first week of the season, and everybody's having a great time until what you feared might happen happens. These guys kind of know what they're talking about. Even on the most basic level when it comes to sports betting, they get it. They start tossing around terms that you've never heard of, but naturally, wanting to be one of the boys, wanting to be one of the guys, you chime in. How bad could it be? Nobody's going to know that I don't know what I'm talking about. But then you start using terms out of context. You're not making any sense, and they look at you like you got three heads, and now you feel like a dummy. But don't worry. I'm here to save you. Here are 20 NFL sports betting terms that you absolutely need to know before the season starts. We'll start basic. We'll get a little bit more advanced through the video. Let's make it happen. First up are the odds. All the odds do is show the likelihood of an outcome of each side of an event. So we use American odds for this example. American odds use a minus value and a plus value to show the favorite and the underdog. The minus value is the favorite. The plus value is the underdog. So the minus odds are how much you would need to bet in order to win $100. And the plus odds simply show how much you'd win if you bet $100, even though, of course, you don't need to bet $100. If the Chiefs, for example, were minus 155 to beat the Chargers, you'd need to bet $155 to win 100. And in that same game, if the Chargers were plus 130 to beat the Chiefs, you would win $130 if you bet 100. The money line. The money line is simply a type of wager where you're betting one team to win against another. But because some of these teams are so much better than others, the odds will often make money lines less enticing to bet, because on a favorite, you'd have to bet a lot to win a little on a heavy favorite, or you'd have to bet a little to win a lot on a big underdog, but they'll also have a very small chance of actually winning the game. And that is why we have point spreads. The point spread is a way of evening the odds between two unevenly matched teams. With a point spread, typically minus 110 odds on both sides, you can bet for a team to win by more than a certain amount or not lose by a certain amount. For example, if we had a matchup between the Eagles and the Cardinals, and the Eagles were minus 10.5, that would make the Cardinals plus 10.5. You would need the Eagles to win by 11 or more if you were betting that side, or if you were betting the Cardinals, you would need them to lose by 10 or less in order to cash your bet. The total. The total, or the over-under, is simply a bet on the combined points scored between both teams in a game. If the total of a game is 47.5 and you bet the over, you'd need both teams to combine for 48 or more points no matter how it happens. And if you're betting the under, you'd need them to combine for 47 or fewer points to win. The VIG or the juice. The VIG or the juice is the amount a sportsbook charges to take your bet. In short, they're taking a cut. Think of it this way. If you're betting a point spread like we discussed a moment ago, it's even on both sides, but the odds are typically minus 110. That means that instead of betting 100 to win 100, you'd be betting 100 to win $90.90. That's the VIG. The handle. The handle is simply the total amount of dollars wagered on something, whether it's on a bet, on one side of an event, a sports book, or even a state as a whole. It's simply the amount of money wagered on something. A sharp and a square. A sharp is a professional bettor who has a history of being profitable. It's that easy. They always shop the best odds. They have accounts on as many sports books as possible, and they don't place bets unless they see a definitive edge. Sportsbooks take their wagers seriously, and they'll move their lines based on where their action is going. A square, in the simplest terms, is a recreational bettor. And by the way, placing big bets by no means makes you a sharp, although sharps generally do place large wagers. Squares generally bet from only one sportsbook. They don't care about shopping the best odds. They love betting favorites and overs, and they have no real perception of value or edge. And by the way, if you'd like to be a sharp and not a square, well, I threw a link in the description that gives you all of the links to all of the best promos out there to get you on as many books as possible. Choose one, choose three. Make sure you're on as many books as possible before the season starts, or you will go down in ruins. They have free money offers, massive bonuses, first bet insurance, bet 5 to get 200. Take a look for yourself. Click it. I threw my favorite sports books in there. If you're not on them yet, take advantage of free money, number one, because it only comes once. And number two, always shop the odds. Be a sharp. not a square. And in order to do it, you don't want to be on just one sportsbook. Key numbers. 3 and 7 are the most important key numbers if you're betting the NFL. This is because some margins of victory are more common than others. And in football, field goals are worth 3 points, obviously, and touchdowns plus the extra point are worth 7. So in practice, if you like the Panthers in a game, and 5 sportsbooks have them at +7 because you're a sharp and you've already signed up on as many books as possible, but another one has them at +7.5, the +7.5 is a much better bet because now they could lose by a touchdown and you still win your bet. Now, let's say on the other side, the Falcons are favored in this same game. And on most sportsbooks, they're -3, but you found them somewhere else at -2.5. That is a better bet because now if they win by a field goal, your bet still cashes. Now that half point might not seem like a lot, but it's really important to consider, especially when you're dealing with key numbers. And that half point is what we call the hook. So when you're with the boys at the bar and one of them says, "Damn it, I just lost by the hook," he might have bet the Falcons at -3.5 and they only won by 3. Hence the hook. That is a half point attached to these lines. But in that same scenario, let's say he bet the Carolina Panthers at -3 and they only won by 3. That's what we call a push. Essentially, it's a tie. Neither the bettor or the sportsbook wins, and the money is returned to the bettor's account. But as I'm sure you've already realized by now, a line on a spread or a total that has a hook cannot push. You either win or you lose. Straight bet. It doesn't get any easier than this one. A straight bet, or a single bet, as you'll hear it, is just a single wager on an event. You're placing one bet by itself, and you only need one outcome to occur for you to win. Parlays. A parlay is simply combining multiple bets for a bigger payout. Each bet of the parlay is called a leg, and all of them must win in order for your bet to cash. And you also have same game parlays, which is just betting on multiple outcomes from one game, the same game or event. It's the exact same thing as a traditional parlay, except all of your legs are from the same game. Teasers. A teaser is a variation of a parlay where you're able to move each leg by a set number of points for a different payout. For an example, you have 3 9-point favorites, and you want to do a 7-point teaser to move all of those teams to -2. One tip, and you'll learn this as you go, always try to tease through key numbers as we talked about, and always try to avoid teasing through 0. Round robins. A round robin in the simplest sense is a series of smaller parlays made up of a bunch of different teams that you've selected. So if you pick 3 underdogs for a round robin, instead of having to win all 3 to cash your bet, they're broken down into smaller parlays where you can still profit even if you don't win all 3 legs. So let's say you like the Eagles, the Raiders, and the Steelers money lines and made a 3-team round robin. You would then have 3 2-leg parlays created for you. You'd have Eagles and Raiders, you'd have Eagles and Steelers, and you'd have Raiders and Steelers. The potential payout is always smaller than a traditional parlay, but it's not an all or nothing approach either. Bad beats. So you bet a 7-point underdog. They were up by 1, but their opponent just scored and now they're back down by 6. That's cool though. It's okay. You're still good. Just end the damn game. The opponent kicks the ball to your team, time runs off the clock, but the play is still going. Then, of course, they start frantically lateraling the ball to move it downfield and try and tie it up. Fumble. The opponent recovers the football, runs it down 50 yards for a touchdown to put them up by 12, and the game is over. That, my friends, is a bad beat. You lose. Buying or selling points. Buying or selling points is the ability or the option to move a spread or a total bet in one direction or the other at the cost of paying additional vig or juice. It's generally a strategy used by squares and not by the sharps, one that you typically would like to stay away from. Steam. If a line is moving rapidly towards one side, that means it's getting steam. Reverse line movement. Reverse line movement is when a line moves against a team or a side that is taking the majority of bets or tickets. It's the result of sharp action and or heavy money coming in on the other side. Remember earlier we talked about handle? Oftentimes you can see what side of the bet the sharps are taking based on the handle and not from the total amount of bets that have been placed on that game or on that team. Closing line value. Closing line value is the price of the bet when you placed it compared to what it closed at. For example, you bet the Patriots at +4 and they closed at +2.5. You got positive closing line value because you beat the market there. Now, on the other hand, if you bet the Patriots at +4 and it closed at +5.5, the market beat you and you got negative closing line value on that bet. Well, there you have it. 20 must-know NFL betting terms before the season starts. Now get out there, chop it up with the boys at the bar, knock some back, and have yourselves a great season. As always, appreciate you guys hanging out, and we'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.